Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, we get another opportunity to take a look at 4 wonderful colonies from members of the community. That's right, this is another Chaos Crew Playalong video. To start off with, I figured I'd show you the seed so you know exactly what the players had to start with. Notice it's a basic Terra start with vanilla oxygen not included, so the players are able to really take their time, learn, grow, and in some cases accomplish some amazing things. As a Terra Start map, there are no special world traits, but we did activate all 5 story traits. So without further ado, let's take a look at our first colony. This first colony is, well, ironically a colony of firsts, and was submitted by Nate Dog 42A. And the first thing I noticed when I launched this colony was this massive main structure here. I really like how Nate Dog decided to incorporate not only the main living area, but living right next door we have some ranches, and next to it we have an aquarium, which is also next to a dirty brick, an open air sauna with a nice steam turbine setup, and then to the far right, accessible by both ladder, pole, or transit tube, we have some more farms, and also a nice little eclectic collection of liquids. Now in today's video, we're going to be going up in cycles. In this save, Nate Dog made it all the way to cycle 1097. And taking a look at some of the details in and around the colony, this is Nate Dog's first ever petroleum boiler. Notice they went with the single tile variant, and they're using the entire magma biome as a heat source. And this specific setup is taking the heat from these diamond window tiles, passing it into this door via a temperature shift plate, and then into gold metal tiles that are being used as the heat plate. Now you want to talk about efficiency for a second. Notice that this mechanized airlock has only been used for 1% of the time for the past 5 cycles. So with a magma biome this large, this petroleum boiler could survive for a very, very long time. The oil is being sourced using a setup I haven't used before, but what I like about it is the fact that the oil well stays submerged, which helps guarantee the fact that this water will never get above 100 degrees, so we don't end up with the messy steam inside the oil refinery setup. We also have to take a quick look at what might be Nate Dog's favorite blueprint for the gas reservoir, the Mod Dot. You'll see quite a few of these around the colony. We have a nice gold volcano tamer here. While this is a pretty standard design, is still a very nice accomplishment for a player who hasn't clocked in too many hours. In the center of the map, we have what's quite possibly the world's largest buffer tank, with a hodgepodge of polluted water, salt water, standard water, even some oil down here hiding out. And in the interest of storing liquids, you can see that we have another large water basin here and a wonderfully large oil reservoir here. And the way this works is all the oil is pumped into here, and then there's one pump ensuring that there's a continuous flow going to the petroleum boiler. In addition to all the natural gas being supplied from those oil wells, we also have a natural gas geyser here, and that natural gas is being used all the way up here into one gas oven. That's right, Nate Dog really cares about their food. This colony has access to both frost burgers, pepper bread, surf and turf, even some spicy tofu. And I like the setup for the kitchen. It looks like there's 2 deep freezers here, where the natural ingredients come into this deep freezer and then are sorted out using a couple of auto sweepers and placed into the appropriate cooking device. But this deep freezer is where all the finished products go, which is accessible using this auto sweeper, which keeps 3 kilos of fresh food available for the dupes at all time. We are running a lot of critters on this colony, but perhaps my favorite might be the Hatch Ranch designs. And Nate Dog provides us a wonderful example of just because it's a hatch ranch doesn't mean it needs to be ugly. I mean, even the creative use of the plunger print to create this sort of looking design was very ingenious. We have some cuddle pips being ranched up here, and they do have their critter condos. We of course have our infinite reed fiber and plastic ranches here with the Drecos and glossy Drecos. And then a trio of Slickster ranches that are kept being fed on carbon dioxide thanks to the use of the petroleum generators. We also have an adorable little aquarium here with the wonderful use of some statues and the water forts. Notice they're not being ranched. It's just a nice little aquarium. We have a couple of nice recreation rooms to include a jukebox and a pair of arcade cabinets over here, and a nice setup for the bedrooms to include the classic 1995 middle school portrait of the Cuddle Pip. And I know you're dying to see it, and so am I. Let's check out the decor for this colony. There it is. Very, very nice. And because the duplicants are living in this kind of nice, posh environment, they're enjoying a morale between 45 and all the way up to 60. As for the space biome, Nate Dogg had a pair of rockets and was beginning to install a C minor setup to handle all of the horribly hot regolith. I also like the fact that Nate Dogg decided to leave the Gravitas building. This one will never get old for me. In fact, I wish Clay would do some more of these point of interests and just pepper them into the occasional map. Maybe not a guaranteed point of interest, but one that just surprises you on a new roll. Notice that Nate Dogg has access to some late game rare materials to include supercoolant and iso resin. And are you ready for this? This is the first time Nate Dogg's made it past cycle 100 in the base game. So hats off and nicely done to Nate Dogg 42A. Appreciate you submitting the colony. This next colony is a marvel in engineering and was submitted by Dotus Alpha. And the first thing you probably notice about it is the giant rocket silo covering the right-hand side. Well, this rocket silo is very, very important for the reason that it's providing all of the colony's water. That's right, Dotus went into the Chaos Crew Challenge and decided they're not going to use any vents or geysers on the planetoid. I've been checking, and I haven't found a single one that's been uncorked. Even all the oil is being supplied by slicksters. And of course, the oil is once again being thrown into a petroleum boiler, the 2-tile method this time. We've got a beautiful obsidian conveyor rail here, grabbing all of the heat, which transfers from these diamond window tiles through the door into a hot plate made out of diamond window tiles. And because one of my favorite things about petroleum boilers is checking their efficiency, check this one out. Last 5 cycles, that door's been closed 0%. You can gather that this door doesn't shut very often. So a very efficient petroleum boiler here. Here's another vent or geyser that has not been used. In this case, it's a standard steam vent. What I'm guessing Dotus did was conserve all the water that they had on this massive planetoid to start and used it to survive to the point to where they could actually set up this rocket silo. The colony has 12 rockets on it, with most of them doing repeat flights to the first 2 asteroids, where they're collecting a lot of iso resin, abyssalite, diamond, coal, and refined carbon. But more importantly, all of these hydrogen rockets are bringing back the water that is not only used in the liquid oxygen and the liquid hydrogen setup that has built-in transit tube access, but all of that steam, while most of it ends up back into the chamber, there's an overflow system here where that water can go into a buffer tank that when this mechanized airlock closes, the water will continue on to the rest of the colony. As you might imagine, this whole setup might require a little bit of automation. Well, you're not wrong. To the point that Dotus is even using the often neglected ribbon readers. Now, I'd love to explain to you how all this automation works, to include this automation ribbon that carries all the way up to the side of the rocket silo that controls not only the launching of the rockets and the closing of these vents to capture more water, but to be quite honest, it would take me about 30 minutes to understand it myself, and probably about 30 minutes to explain it in a video. Either way, this is a technical feat by Dotus Alpha. The rest of the colony is equally as impressive. There are 49 duplicates in this colony total, 39 currently sitting on the planetoid. Remember, there's going to be a lot of duplicates that are sitting inside the rockets. And each of them has a wonderful little bedroom featuring the puffed bed. Just south of the bedroom complex is, I hope you're wearing your blue light glasses because Well, it's a massive shinebug reactor. And I personally love this design because in my designs I keep all the shine bugs in one little spot for performance reasons, but that means I only can get 1 or 2 solar panels there. Whereas in this case, the shine bugs are sort of allowed to roam free throughout this room. And because of that, we're getting a lot more throughput on the power generated by these solar panels. In addition, the entire space biome does have a robo-miner setup and even more solar panels set up to maximize the amount of light that they're receiving. Dotus also has a wonderful kitchen here, where you may notice that it has a walk-in freezer. The colony is sitting at just over 17 million calories, mostly featuring barbecue. And all that barbecue is being provided by these wonderful shovels. Well, shovels, of course, and a lot of Drecos, of course some hatches. We have plenty of pips here and a large-scale naturally planted arbor tree ranch, and of course the aforementioned slicksters. A lot of nice features for the duplicants as well, to include an espresso machine, some jukeboxes, a nice hospital setup, a massage clinic, some hot tubs, even some surfboards, and a wind tunnel. And because of all that, there are some dupes who are getting up to a 71 morale. Strike that, this Nisbet here has a 74 morale. And remember, the most significant point about this colony is the fact that none of the vents and geysers were used. In fact, a lot of this planetoid was kept natural. There's several large-scale biomes that have barely even been touched. So a phenomenal effort and a tip of the hat to Dotus Alpha. Incredible achievements all the way around. This next colony, submitted by Cedar SE, is a reminder of how many different ways there are to play Oxygen Not Included. Before I've even zoomed into this colony, I have such an appreciation for the aesthetic design that was carefully manicured in the creation of it. And I think we all have to agree their center point is just the absolutely beautiful circular enclosure that's operating as the main portion of the base. We are at cycle 1964, here in this colony featuring 20 duplicants. Cedar SE has completed the Home Sweet Home achievement with a wonderful monument sitting right next to, I don't know, a little bit of salt water. Depending on what tile you're looking at, this is 46299,400 kilos? I don't even know the unit of measure to say that number correctly. And next to it is an adorable little mini spom, which Cedar SE, in the submission of this colony, wanted to underscore that they intentionally did not look up any designs and just sort of went with it. And you love to see that sort of ingenuity because you end up with some pretty cool looking designs. Notice there are 3 mini spoms all circling this hydrogen room being cooled by 4 wheezeworts. Not only is this sort of segmented spom providing 3 full pipes of oxygen, but it's quite possibly the most interesting design I've ever seen when it comes to a spom. Cedar SE also likes to use alternative storing mechanisms for their gas and are frequently using this design in and around the colony. This one here is for a natural gas geyser storing natural gas, whereas this one here is grabbing some chlorine and storing it here, which is being used in a nice little dash of salt vine farm. Nice use of the Visco Gel liquid locks. The mostly kept natural space biome has a beautiful cooling loop that is not only using liquid pipes, but also gas pipes to provide heat and cooling in and around the colony. We have a shovel enclosure up here being sourced by this farm here, and they're all being fed by a nice little regolith collection system where that heat is also being drawn out in this system here. In addition, all the batteries and some power transformers for these solar panels are also not only being kept cool thanks to the steam bath, but all their heat is also being turned into power. I've always liked having batteries inside these steam turbine setups, not wasting even an ounce of heat. Towards the side of the colony, one area of particular interest is the Biobot builder being supplied with plenty of zombie spores thanks to a nice little setup here with some spore kids, continuously supplying more and more Peggies to the colony. The southern part of the colony features an iron volcano being tamed in perhaps one of the more interesting methods. All of its heat is being used for a small little petroleum boiler here. Cedar SE wasn't kidding when they said they were going to try all fresh designs. Have you ever seen anything quite like this? I haven't. We also have some geothermal power being supplied by the once again massive magma biome. These steam turbines are being given the NG's tune-up, so they're each going to be supplying 1275 watts at the demand of these smart batteries. That's a lot of power, and once again, because of the efficiency of this design, it's going to take a very long time to use up all this magma. Here's another completely different metal volcano taming solution. This gold volcano is being geotuned, and all of its heat being captured and transporting to yet another steam turbine enclosure. This one also has a thermal regulator. Oh, hi, Peggy. And all of it comes together with these as the gas pipes, and this is the liquid pipes. And if we take a trip and follow where the gold's going, goes through the steam turbine enclosure, up through this alternate solution, through here, then it goes up, and is dropped off right here. Oh, look, it's another Peggy. Maybe that's the same Peggy, I don't know. They all look alike. Each Peggy should come out with a different color in the back of their little biobot. It would help differentiate them. Here we have a pretty nice living situation for Hermit Catalina. This is everything Catalina needs to survive. They have a suit access if they need it. They have oxygen coming in. Their own potties, which you can see Cedar SE has the wonderful faint purple sink and faint purple lavatory. Catalina also has her own mess table, soda fountain, and living quarters. The rest of the duplicants are living in this centerpiece here. That is a very eclectic selection of all sorts of rooms and areas, starting with more faint purple, lavatories and sinks. Some people have the Dreamboat bed, some have the Grand Prix, and some have the standard comfy bed. Oh, wait, there's a rocket ship too. We have some thimbleweed naturally growing here. I see what may have happened. Poor Catalina may not have made it. And so when Cedar SE brought in another Catalina, maybe they were given their own home to keep them out of trouble. I love the little stories that you can see in and around people's colonies. And if this colony wasn't already impressive enough, this is Cedar SE's first petroleum rocket, first time completing carnivore, first petroleum boiler, first phosphorite melter, first industrial sauna, first shovel ranching, first molten slickster ranch, first self-cleaning solar panel setup, first geothermal power, first time retrieving space materials, and finally the first time completing all of the story traits. So while I am definitely giving Cedar SE and this colony 2 thumbs up, rest assured, if I had more hands, I'd be putting those thumbs up too. Well done, and thanks for the submission, Cedar SE. Our 4th colony of the day is definitely going to give you some oohs and ahs. This one was submitted by Slurms and is the Planet Express Chaos. And the first thing you may notice is, what happened to all the biomes? To include the magma biome. We'll get to that. We first have to start off and appreciate the 14 different statues that Slurms has built in this colony. In fact, this is Slurms' first time completing Home Sweet Home and The Great Escape. And what might be the most complicated thing about this colony is me trying to decide what to show you first, because there's a lot of goodies to unpack here. One of my favorite features is the fact that they incorporated the Gravitas building into a functional part of the colony. Anytime a dupe comes in or out of this transit tube, they're essentially in the Gravitas point of interest building. I love to see it. We have some blast shot makers, providing blast shots for 7 meteor blasters, keeping the 3 rockets safe. And you know those rockets have been busy, because we're at cycle 3006. Slurms played this colony for 211 hours, and features an ensemble cast of 40 duplicants. And if you're looking for some sort of way to engage with the video to increase its views, why don't you pick out your favorite name out of probably the most interesting selection of dupe names that I've ever seen. I think 2 of my favorites are Thunder Cougar Falconbird and Destructor Raw. But those weren't the only duplicants on this colony. Slurms made it a point to not save scum at all. And for that, we have quite a few tasteful memorials here. Yes, the list keeps going. Apparently, even Peggy wasn't saved. Now, obviously, the careful preservation of all the abyssalite is absolutely gorgeous. But what I like about it the most is the fact that some of these emptied out biomes were used independent of each other. This was a small manufacturing facility. This biome became a steam vent tamer. Not 100% sure how the Slurms managed to vacuum out these biomes and then repair them up. I'm guessing they used the natural tiles mod. No shame in that game at all. And then this biome might be my favorite. Notice the absolute gargantuan amount of natural gas being fed to, well, just a few natural gas generators that are running near constantly. And where does all that natural gas come from? Well, some of you have probably already guessed it, but it is a wonderful sour gas boiler. Notice the 4 thermal aqua tuners down here providing the heat for the sour gas boiler are all made out of thermium. We have another nice aquarium down here with the Pacu that's also doubling as a cool steam vent tamer. We have quite a few slicksters, all of them molten, providing all the petroleum. And then of course we have some oil wells here, and all of that oil is heading off directly to the sour gas boiler. I've always loved the simplicity and the beauty of the design of this particular sour gas boiler. Notice that the oil comes in, eventually flashes to petroleum. That petroleum hits this hot plate, which it then flashes back into sour gas. The sour gas rises all the way up over and then is start to chill, comes through here where it is turned into methane. That methane, of course, is then heated and pumped into the room where it turns into natural gas. Such a simple and clean design that gives you more natural gas than you're ever going to be able to handle. And you might be wondering about the magma biome, and I believe it is this system here and this system here that are responsible for the absolute annihilation of the magma biome. And you can tell that magma didn't go to waste because we're sitting at 3,603 tons worth of igneous rock. Any stone hatches hungry? All the metal volcanoes on the planetoid are tamed to include this iron volcano that is complete with a debris chiller. And then of course we have this gold volcano here that also has a debris chiller. And all of that metal is riding a pretty intricate system of rails that is then sorted and divided and going to a few different places here in the colony. Back up to the living area of the colony, we have a couple of sweepies that have their own artifacts. I never realized the artifacts would bump around and move on top of their head. Very cool animation detail by Clay. We also have a functional squeaky puff ranch made possible by the new additions of the critter pickups, which reminds me I probably need to put a disclaimer on my old overly complicated puff ranching techniques because, well, they're not necessary anymore because this is how simple it is. A nice geotuner set up here. We have some hatches, some puffs, some regular long hair slicksters, and once again, another Peggy making biobot machine being supplied with quite a few sporkids. The duplicants here work hard and they play hard. Here's Greyfarn inside the vertical wind tunnel, living their absolute best life. In fact, most of these duplicants are pretty happy. A, they survived the onslaught of the building of Slurms Colony, but B, once again, we have morale in the 60s and 70s. We have an absolute massive set of Atmosuit docks here, and notice they're pretty much all chocked full of oxygen. But it's made possible by a couple of spawns. Notice that each leg of the spawn is only supplying oxygen for so many suits. Also notice that this Peggy didn't make it out of the spawn either. But don't worry, there are many Peggies that did make it. One very interesting part about Slurms Base is a setup I have never quite seen before for the deep freezer. Notice this carbon dioxide is sitting at 19 or 20 degrees. But because carbon dioxide is such a horrible conductor, this tile is being kept at minus 32, so all this food is still deep frozen. I've never seen a design like this, and I may pick this one up in the future. So I think we can all agree that Slurms knocked this one out of the park. Well done on an absolutely beautifully designed colony. This is the time in the video where we get to showcase many of the other colonies of the players who participated in the Chaos Crew Playalong. This one started in April of this year. and wrapped up at the beginning of this month. So you know what that means. It's time for another Chaos Crew Playalong. Our next one starts this Sunday, August 4th, and we'll be unveiling the seed live over on my Twitch channel towards the conclusion of my 1 p.m. Eastern Twitch stream. That stream is always particularly exciting. We'll play Oxygen Not Included for a little while, and then at the end of the stream, I'll roll a fresh seed, and hundreds of players will all start at the same time. As another note, the Chaos Crew Play-Along is not a competition. Rather, it's just a way for people to play a single-player game together. Over on our Discord, we have a Chaos Crew Play-Along channel where everybody shares strategies, roots each other on, and provides tips and tricks to those who want them. So consider popping over onto Twitch this Sunday, and also consider joining the Discord and playing along with many people in the Echo Ridge gaming community. A huge shout out goes out to Gabby Gabs and Queen Calero for once again providing all the wonderful oversight for the Chaos Crew Play-Along and curating and organizing all of the colonies that you've seen today. Remember, liking a video always helps its success, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider it, and until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.